Hi, my name is Yuli, and today I'll be introducing my 15112 term project. The project that I've decided to choose is Liar's Dice, and I've implemented an online version of it. So the Liar's Dice that I'm implementing is the common hand. So in the game, each round, each player rolls their dice under their cups and looks at their new hand while keeping it concealed from the other players. I do this by having separate clients and having the server handle all of the dice. So each player only sees their own dice. The first player starts bidding. They pick a face and a quantity. The quantity is the claim of how many of the chosen face have been rolled in the total of the table. Each player has two choices during their turn. They can make a higher bid or challenge the previous bid. Now, raising the bid in my game means you have to, if you don't raise the quantity, then you have to raise the face value. If you raise the quantity, then you can choose any face value. If the current player challenges the current bid, all dice are revealed. In my application, the server counts the dice. If the bid is valid, then the bidder wins, so the challenger wins, and the previous bidder loses. Otherwise, the challenger wins and the previous bidder loses. So when you lose, in my game, you only lose one dice. If you lose all of your dice, then you lose the game for good. If there's only one player remaining, then he is the winner of the whole game. Now I will start and show you my server. Server asks you for valid input on how many dice, how many player and how many dice you want each player to have. It actually checks to see if the parameters are valid so the server doesn't crash. I'll say 2 players and 8 dice. The server is serving. I will start 2 clients because I designated 2 users. There's a nice little animation and you can read about the Liar's Dice about, I guess, and while you wait for another client. So when you go on and log on to another client, the server immediately starts serving the game. So in my game, the dice rolls, and I can select a quantity of dice, say 8 threes. I send my guess, and the next player gets the guess, and they can either guess or challenge. If they guess, they can also cancel if they decide to challenge. If they challenge, then hey, his challenge is correct, and the bidder actually lost the dice because he lost. If I say 6 threes and I send my guess, then the next player, he has to guess, he has to place a larger bid. So if he selects 6, then the value on the dice has to be 4 or above. If he selects 7, then he can select anything. This is actually handled by the client. It looks at the previous input and previous guess, and it decides what are valid guesses, and it does it dynamically. As you can see, if I choose 6, then I am limited to 4 or to 6. If I choose 7 or above, then I can choose anything. This is mostly so that the user has a more direct view of what a valid guess is, and this also helps because it restricts the inputs to only valid inputs. Now, when a client loses the game, it is disconnected from the server and it is set in a loop to display a message saying that you've lost because you've lost all your dice. Because it disconnects from the server, the client can close his window and safely exit without disrupting the gameplay. Now, when there's only one player left in the game, the server will send that one client a message saying that you've won, and it'll display a "you've won" screen. This is basically my project. What I found very challenging about it was in the server I had to implement threads, so each separate connection is their own thread, so one thread will not affect all the others. Another thing that I found very challenging was getting the animation to run in parallel with the client, because the client will be handling all the information passbacks and tos and froms from the server, and the animation will update it at a cycle. I had to create a separate thread for the command handler that I had in my client to make sure the animation and the client ran at the same time. Another interesting thing about the server and the client is I decided to kind of write my own command protocol. So the server will send the client a command. The client will enter a game state according to that command, and then it will provide feedback to the server. And so this is a more modular approach, and it's much easier to build upon that with it implemented. So that's basically my term project. Feel free to leave any suggestions or any comments, or if you have any questions, I'll try my best to get back to you. So that's basically it. Thanks for watching.